Hi, welcome everyone. So these two pictures are basically the representation of what we are seeing in today's world. Me, myself, when I started off, it was just as an SEO analyst, and we used to just focus on what is Google doing, and there were so many data points available, but no one was at least making sense of it. And that is when I first started off with putting the data that I have in an Excel sheet or a Google sheet. And then that is when I started analysis. That is when you realize that there are certain we see data everywhere, and there thankfully we have certain solutions that we can use to use the data efficiently and effectively. So here we present Google Sheets and Excel, but this session will be focusing on Google Sheets. It's similar, but I feel that Google Sheets is more friendly, so everyone can use it efficiently and quickly. So starting off again, why is data important for a nonprofit organization? You guys have been dealing with this data since for a long time, and you know that how important it is to maintain your database and how important it is to keep it clean. So it's important to update whatever I've written, communication, when you present something, when you have to pitch a proposal to someone, it's important to show the data points that matter rather than showing everything, because there's a person who does not know anything. And if we throw all the information over there, they might get confused and not even make sense of the important information. So that's important to measure impact and give only that much thing that is required over there. So you have data for operations like keeping it clean, building, maintaining the storage, data for fundraising, basically what was the impact, how many events you did. Data for impact would include the impact on your own organization, your campaigns that you have been trying. Are they data driven? Are they giving the results? Are you going in the right direction? So these are the questions that you will be able to answer if you have collected your data properly and efficiently, and you have a clean data. That is the most important part. So the goal for the workshop is basically taking you through the entire process of data cleaning, data analysis, data presentation, visualization, and lastly, I've added a bonus and few giveaways that I'll be giving to everyone so that it just helps you in your journey. This is the goal that I've noted, but I really hope that everyone just takes away something from this webinar so that you all can start using it immediately and you don't have to go back and forth about it. So this was the thing. Now we'll just go to the Google Sheets to start with our activities. And I'll also encourage everyone to participate where I say that, just there'll be some formulas or stuff like that. I would really want your input on that. That'd be really great. This is what a proper raw data would look like. So whenever you are out, whenever you are collecting data, you will have certain fields that would be non-organized, that would be random, that would be duplicates, that would not be uniform or standardized. It will be random data. So this is like a proper picture of what a random raw data, that is what we call it, and that would look like. Now your task would be to filter it in a way and make it in a presentable way that you can perform analysis as well as give insights to other people based on your data. So the first and important thing that comes is when you use Google Sheets, it's pretty friendly and pretty handy in order to share it with others. You can adjust filter level permission. So you can ask if you want to share it with someone, you want to just give them the view access, you want to give them editor access, or how do you want to share it with people. So that way it is pretty handy, and it also helps you to tag people so you know who's the person responsible for getting this task done. Is the data brought in correct? You can also collaborate, work together on the same sheet. You will know where the other person is. So it's pretty flexible in that manner. And that is the reason you can always use Google Sheets. You can work offline as well. So that is the reason when you have a data that's in Excel or a CSV and you would want to collaborate with everyone, we can use it, you can import it and into Google Sheets and you can use it together. So so this is the same data. This is a raw data as it is. When you start off with your cleaning process, the basic things would be you would want to standardize everything so that you have one value, unique value for each and not multiple duplications. What I mean by that is if you see the gender column, this has male, female. It also has lowercase male, lowercase female. So one thing to note is whether it is male with an uppercase or a lowercase, sheet will consider it as a unique ID. So if you want to sum up all the males, it may not consider the one with that particular different values. So you need to standardize everything. And moreover, even if there are certain instances, it's always appropriate to have a standardized data rather than having a random nation, so that if someone else is coming in, they can see what the data is and what is it depicting. So so the basic thing is to trim the white spaces, to remove all the duplicates, to standardize the entire data set. So this is what we are going to do in this first step. This is the first step of data cleaning. So by trimming the white space, I actually mean the extra space that we have over here, right? So what actually happens is, this might be a very minute thing. People will not even consider it. But when you create formulas, sheets consider this space as a character. So in future formulas, we'll have to add spaces. So how to do that? So it's very important to have no spaces so that the formulas can actually catch that value and provide you with the correct solution. So to do that, there is a formula which is known as trim. And in Excel or in Sheets or any other tool, we know that the formula begins with an equal to sign, right? So whenever you go and you add an equal to, and if you start typing the first name, Sheet will automatically start suggesting it. It's the auto suggest, it's the smart feature that it already has. So initially there was this particular feature that you had to use trim, and you have to select the entire data set, and there's just a enter, so it removes it. But now Sheets has made our life more easier, and it is as simple as just 3 clicks away. So all you got to do is select the entire data set. By clicking over here, you select all the columns, all the rows within a subsheet. You go to data, you go to clean up, and there's trim white space. So if you trim it, you see that there were 13 cells that had white spaces. Now, this might be a very small number, but when you see, it can actually skew your data, meaning it can make your data go good or bad really quick. So when you trim that, now it feels like there's the data, at least there's no white space. Now, the second point comes as of removing duplication. So again, you select the entire source and go to data cleanup, and you have cleanup suggestions over here. So you can see it's a duplicate row, and that's showing you, oh, okay. So you can see if there is any duplicate data, you can just click on that and remove it. So once you've done with the duplication, the trimming, now comes the process of making it consistent. So say, for example, so the name of the students, some have added like uppercase, some are title case, some are like lowercase. So what you need to do is, it's a very simple way to standardize it. Just need to add a column to the right, or anywhere for that matter. The main thing in Sheets is you need to reference it to the correct cell and the correct range of what you want to perform action on. So again, everything starts with a equal to sign, every formula. So in Sheets, there are formulas. So if you want to convert the entire text to lowercase, the formula is lower, and it will also give you a detailed description of what it means. And if you want to convert it to uppercase, whatever you are comfortable with, but it is always preferred to have lowercase and upper. So it will convert all the alphabets to the uppercase. So let's go with lower now. So once you select lower, now the small icon over here, the question mark, that's a very handy tool. There are so many formulas, you might not even remember all of it. Me being me, I'm also here, like every day I learn something new about it. So I cannot say that I know everything about it, because there are so many combinations that we can use. And this tool is the one that comes pretty handy. So you can turn it on. It will show you what type of input is supposed to be added there. So, and it is pretty smart. So it's already suggesting it because you added a column to the right. But and it is showing what we want. So say, for example, we want to convert this entire row basically, but we start off with this particular cell and we want to convert this to lowercase. So as it is suggesting, we'll take the suggestion, we'll accept it. And here is a small preview of what your output would look like. And if you're not happy with that, you feel like, oh, I didn't want to go with this, and maybe I wanted to do the gender. Though it is suggesting this, you can always select it. And now it will show the preview of what is the output of this particular selected cell. So let's go back. We are going to do that, but let's go with the student first. So now you close the brackets, just add enter. And now this is the autofill. This is very handy as well. You don't need to copy paste the formula again and again. You just need to add enter, and that is done. And if you don't want to go about that, here in this particular corner, if you just double tap, it will drag it down. No matter how many rows, how many. So this is just a demo data set that I got. That's the reason it's just 20. But I believe that you guys would have like hundreds and thousands, because we know when we churn data, it's huge, right? So you can just double click and it will drag down to the last thing. Now over here, what you have got is the output of a formula. So say, for example, if someone by mistakenly changed something over here, any error can happen. It's human, right? So the formula will also be affected. And once you know that you want this particular value and that's it. So what you can do is you can select the entire row. You can, select the entire cells containing the output. You can do this by Control Shift and down arrow. So you select all the values that are filled in. That's it. You don't go beyond, you don't go above. And then you copy it, Control V, Command V. And then you go to this particular column where your existing data was, and you do a Control Shift V. What you're doing over here is you're not copying the formulas anymore. You're copying the output, the value. So now whatever happens to the formula, it's not going to affect over here because you don't even need it anymore. And that's when you realize that, okay, now I have got my data clean. Now I can move on to the next one. So let's do the next one. Now, say, for example, we want to convert the gender to a common one. So what do? We take this particular formula, erase this row and select this cell, right? And then please just keep adding anything in the chat just to know, because I won't be able to see or anything. Just keep be active. That is what I mean to say. So you can add, and you can now see, since the formula has changed, everything is changed. Now you can similarly just drag it to this particular thing and you have everything right over here. Again, same thing. Since this range is already selected, copy, Control Shift V, paste. Now you see that your data is pretty clean. So, and you say, for example, if you wanted to do the same for youth development, you could have done the same thing. And once the need for this particular is over, you can delete the column and you have the database right back where you are, in a better format, in an organized format, a more proper organized format, which is uniform. Now, we also have one more thing. We have unique identity number for whatever participants are there, whatever beneficiaries are there. But we also would like to know how many rows are there or how many people are there, right? So a simple way again would be clicking on the name of the student, Control Shift V, so it will drag down to the entries, and here at the right hand corner, you can see the count. So that's 20. So it's showing you that there are 20 entries. But what if we don't want to do that? So we'll add a serial number, right? So in order to add serial number, we don't need to type in every time you add a new entry. So what we can do is we can just write 1 and 2, select those two together, and just double tap this small icon again to take the entire number and add it by itself randomly to whatever number, thousands or hundreds, lakhs, rows, it will go directly, whatever it is. And you can also continue it if from below as well. So why did we add 1 and 2? It's for Sheet to understand the logic. Otherwise, what would happen is if we just add 1 and you do it, it will perform, but it will just drag 1 as it is, just as it did the formula. So it will drag the same value. And we don't want the same value. We want a series, right? That is the reason we added 1, 2. And then we selected both of them and then we dragged it together. So now you see the data is pretty clean. You can see a partner name, you can see the number, and pretty this way you can actually do all of these rows and get a better and clean data. So this is like the first step, like basic trimming, duplicate removal, because it's very important. When you have duplicate data at a later on stage, if you have to come back and do it, and it creates a mess. Trust me, the more time you spend at cleaning the data, the lesser you will have to take at organizing and finding the conclusions and meaningful data visualizations. Now, the second part over here is filtering and sorting and conditional formatting. Okay, so this is like a one step ahead. Once you have a clean data, your data would look something like this. See, so you have all in lowercase, there is all unique values, there's no repetition, everything is in the proper format that we require. So when you say sorting, what does sorting do is takes the entire data source and it sorts according to a particular condition that you select. Basically sorting in ascending to descending or alphabetical order. So that is what it does, the way you want. Now, let's solve this together. So we want to sort in the ascending order of UID. And I always say that this is a very good practice, because what happens is now you, as a person who's just viewing the data for the first time, would feel that, oh, the unique ID is starting from this. So maybe the database starting from this number, and maybe the latest entry would be at the bottom. But is that the case right now? Because we just picked up a random data source and it's just there. No, right? That won't be the case, because now we don't know how it is arranged. So you have to sort it in the way that a person who's just opening it can also understand and make meaning. So when you sort from, you just have to select the first cell and go and add on this particular option that will select the entire range of data for you and create a filter. You can see these arrows are filters over there, right? And you can sort it by color if there's any. We'll go talk about it in a minute. You can sort it by A to Z, that is ascending order, Z to A, that is descending order. It also represents alphabetical and the opposite one. So here we need to sort UID in ascending order, right? So that's what we select. And you can see that all, now you can see the correct number at where it's starting, and the data associated with the unique ID. So that is sorting. Now talk about filtering. What filtering is does, there's lots of data and you just want to talk about one portion of it, a small one. You don't want to see any other data. So that's what filtering is doing. It will filter the rest of the data out for you and just keep in the one that you need to focus on. And you can do it the vice versa also. There's one portion that just queuing the data and you know it very well, and you don't want it anymore. Say, for example, in this case, we can say like Surat, it's just 2 and we don't want to see Surat in this database. So we can remove it out of the filter. Now, if this is understood, you can always, this is pretty handy, because you'll have to add filters again and again everywhere. You can't show the entire data source. There will be specific business cases, specific problem statements where you will have to filter it. So here's this problem statement that I've just made up, and I hope you all are here with me. And while I cannot hear you, if you want to speak, you can, but just say within your spaces as well. So what would be the first step when we want to filter volunteers in Maharashtra above the age of 23 years? This is the problem statement. Let's break it. The first part says volunteers in Maharashtra. So we will first add the filter, go to the state and just select Maharashtra, right? Everyone here? So that will filter out every other state and it will just keep Maharashtra over here. Now we also need to add another filter above the age, above a certain limit, a criteria. So over here in the age criteria, you can go and filter by condition, and filter is greater than 23. Now make sure I have not said including 23 years. It's above 23. So it's greater than. If it is including, you need to include 23. That would be greater than and equal to. So these are the basic operators, logical operators. So this is your actual data set that you would want to study for volunteers from Maharashtra who are above the age of 23. So this is your filtering. Now comes conditional filtering. And this is also very handy to find out any anomalies that you have. But just taking a basic example, what it will do is it will keep the entire data source. Like we had in filtering that would hide the remaining data, like sorting would keep all the data, but just in one order. Conditional formatting is kind of both. What it will do is it will keep the entire data, but it will at the same time highlight the cells on basis of the condition that you given. Okay. So say, for example, over here, I've given a use case of highlight male in the color blue, but let's take females. Why not? So we'll take we'll go to format over here in this particular drop down, select conditional formatting. And again, the most important thing, whenever you are performing any function calculation, you always need to take care that you have to select the correct range. So here, Control Shift right arrow, Control Shift down key. This is the range. And now over here, we are highlighting text that is exactly female. And the color is going to be, say, pink, yeah, red, whatever. So that is how you highlight a particular data from the sheet based on particular condition. Now, this is just like one condition, but what if you want to select like multiple and you have two conditions that you want to highlight on. Say basically, let's take this males from Pune. So now you want males also, and you want them to be in Pune. So again, you do the same thing. Go to data, go to formatting, go to conditional formatting, add another rule. Again, select the range. Okay. And over here, now since we have two data, it's a custom formula that you're going to make. And there is a formula in Excel that uses a logical operator and, because we need males and Pune, right? So that's why, and you start all the formulas using equal to sign and open bracket. Now, one thing over here is we need to find where are these two entries, in which column are those. So males are in column C, and we need column C entirely. So anytime you want to lock a particular column and prevent it from changing when you change, drag, or drop, so you add a dollar sign. So you will lock the column gender, that is C1, like basically starting from that particular row, where, and you add an equal to sign where the first data point that we require, male, and comma dollar, where it means Pune is in E column. So we'll write E1 equal Pune and close it. So did it work? It did not, right? So that is the reason whenever we use formulas, we have to make sure that everything is in proper format and all the text data that we add are in inverted commas. So you need to add Pune over here and then close the bracket. And now you can see the entire row, the preview of the rows that have been highlighted. So the entire row that where the gender is male and they are from Pune have been highlighted. But that's just two. We don't want that anymore. This is a preview. So what you can do is you can change it to Mumbai and see if that still works. So that worked. So now you feel that it's good, you can do it, done. And that is how the data will look. So all the males from Mumbai have been highlighted. So this is, you still have the entire data. You still have how many females are there, and you can still see males from other regions, but you just wanted to highlight the ones in Mumbai, and that is how you do it. So this is the filtering and sorting. Now comes a formula, which is very handy, very simple, and very useful. When you're dealing with data that uses names, where it uses a lot of text characters that need to be split according to your own terms and according to your own conditions, that's when this formula concatenate comes into picture. What it does is, if you have different values in three different columns, it will merge and add it in one column. Now we can do it with a simple copy paste as well, right? You'll say, why do we need to add a formula for that? Okay, so when we copy it and we paste it, there's this white space everywhere. And once you start adding formulas to it, that's not going to work. It will break. So that is the reason we need to have all of, that is the reason we'll need to have a proper formula to concatenate it properly. So the formula goes like equal to concatenate. And again, as it will just append the strings together as usual. Smart Google Sheets is giving us the answer already. So this is the first word that we want to add. You add a comma. The second string, you add a comma. The third string, right? This should be it. This should give us the answer. But can you see the preview? This is not what we want. We want spaces in between. And this is when, if you remember, I told you at the start, Google Sheets consider space as a character. So that is the reason. And characters, text are always added in inverted commas. So we need to add a space over here and then add again, inverted commas, space, and this. Now this looks good. And now it will suggest an autofill that we'll just take it. And this is your exact data that you would want to see if you want to see the full name. Coming to this, now what if it's together and you want to split it in first name and last name? So initially, back then, you had to use the function split and you had to ensure that you have to split it by space in middle. But again, now it has been pretty handy and you can just go to data, split text to columns. And over here, you have a lot of options. You can also select a custom one, but in our case, it's space. So that's it. This is as simple as that. and it's done. So this is like a small and very quick function, which is very handy. Now going on to some basic mathematical functions that we would be using, and you guys as an NGO would definitely be using. So say for example, you have the donor name, the event that they donated for, the amount used, and now you want to find out the percentage of it. Or let's start with a simple one. Say they are donated, there are two amounts over here that you need to sum up. So you know there is a sum function that you can use, or you can also specify the two digits. Now it's being smart and it's just suggesting, but we want to add it. So you can add a sum sign, and that is how you can find if you wanted to add it. This is not adding, but that is also way you can use the plus sign, the backslash for dividing, star for multiplication, all those basic things. Now over here, we want to find the percentage of the amount used. The easiest way is just to have the formula in your head. What would be the formula? The used by total and 200. So what we'll do, since it's Google Sheets, we would not multiply by 100. We'll see a better way to do it. We can do that as well. That's no issue. So now it's being smart and it's suggesting, let's take the suggestion. So the used amount divided by the amount donated. And here it is already giving us the percentage. And I'll tell you, the reason over here is this particular column is formatted as percent. That is the reason it's already giving us a format as percent. Now, if it was not formatted at percent, it would look something like this, like a very random number. And you'd be like, what is this? And you would have to like multiply by 100 to at least make some sense of it. But you don't want all this, right? So once it's like this, you can just select the contents of the cell and just click as format as percent. So now it will be a better representative of what the data is. And if the person does not want to read all of this, they can just see what the percent is used over here. Now, some quick examples. Let's solve it together, guys. Be there. So now how do you go about like total donation received? This is the donation amount and we want to find the total received. So we start up the formula by using equal to, and what is the function for adding all of it? It's sum, right? So you sum, you select the range and you add, enter. That's it. So this is the total sum. It's a business use case. You need to find out how much donation you received in say last quarter or in this particular month. So this is how you sum up pretty quick. And there might also be use cases where you want to find what was the maximum donation received in this month, because you know the total sum went pretty high. So we will find the maximum and what was the minimum as well. So the formula for finding the maximum value in a particular range is very simple. It's just max, but it lets you know that what was the maximum value. And once you know the maximum value, you can find who was the person that donated it. And if there's any similar project that you are looking for, you can reach out to them. So that's a business case. And similarly, the minimum one, same data range, and then close it. So you'll find the maximum minimum donations received. Now, again, what if you want to know that how many times did you receive donation for skill building or any other activities? So this is a use case, like count the number of times donation was received for skill building. So you go to the column donated for and you see skill building. Now, because the data is like 10, you can understand, oh, it's like 2. But when there's huge data, this function comes pretty handy. It also starts with equal to sign, count. So if you just want to count random numbers, it's count. But if you want to give a particular condition, a particular criteria that you want to filter it on, then you have to use count if. So count if, this is the range that you want to count, okay? Then add a comma. And what are we looking for? And now, since it is again a text, we have to add, it's a string, we have to add inverted commas. What are we looking for? Skill building. And this is a small preview, but strange. I mean, why is it like 0? Any guesses? Do you all want to unmute and say something so that I know that you're at least there? Anyone?
Participants can unmute and answer this. The bracket was not closed.
No, there's a bracket is closed. What do you think would be the problem over here? No, there are commas.
Formula they want to
Selecting the cell access.
Can you show the formula?
Yes, I will show the formula. Let's see. So I'll write at bottom. So it's count if. It's very simple. Maybe so this is the formula. So this is the range that you have to select and this is the criteria. So this is the formula. And okay, it's selecting it. And over here, we have added the same thing. We have selected the range. So you all can see the range. And we have added the criteria that we want skill building. Still, it is showing 0. So I'll tell you what could be a possible reason for this. Since we have already done the data cleaning and you should always double check if you have forgotten this step. So if you see, there is a white space and that is the reason it's not counting. And now you can see it's already 1 already. So that's the reason you always have to trim white space, and I'm focusing it on a lot because people forget this thing and it's a basic one. So you need to trim the white space and you will see that it has trimmed again. So now it was in both of these cases. That is the reason it was 0. Now you can see it's 2. So that is how you use the COUNTIF, and it's very, very handy when you have huge of data and you want to find out how many entries are there for a particular value. Now coming to the main VLOOKUP that is like most talked about and very, very helpful, extremely handy. VLOOKUP is basically what the name suggests, vertical lookup. What it does is you have data in rows and columns. You have each column as a new dimension or value. So what VLOOKUP does is it searches for the value that you already have to find a value that is missing. So in this case, it will be like you can find the project based on all these 3 values because you already have that. Over here, these 3 values are the search key. The value that you have is the search key. We are trying to break the formula down. I know it will be a bit heavy to take it in because it's VLOOKUP. It's not going to be easy, but it's very helpful. So it's the search key, the first part that mentions search key is the information that is existing with you. The range is again the data, the range where you would find the information that is existing in. Index is the row number that you want to be returned the value of. So this is sort of tricky. So let's select index and understand it. What is index? Say, for example, this is your range and index of this first A column would be 1, index of column B would be 2, index of column C would be 3, and so on and so forth. So instead of using numbers, we'll be using, instead of using alphabets, the row names, we'll be using numbers as index. So that is the main thing. So, and sorted basically it's asking you, do you want a close match or an exact match? So is sorted, if you just leave it, it'll give you a close match, like an exact match. But if you want an exact match, you have to write false. So that no, we don't want a close match, we want a exact match. So let's take a proper example and start doing it. So over here it says, find all projects that volunteers in Mumbai are working on using data in another sheet. We don't have the data over here, right? Like data is somewhere else. We don't know where it is. And we're just like doing a small quick analysis where you want to find that volunteers in Mumbai, what are they working on? And this is the list of volunteers. So what would be the first step, guys? Like if you can see this entire problem statement, what would be the first step? Trim, okay, let's do that. Data, cleanup, trim white space. Okay, there's no white space, so the data is trimmed, it's clean. Now you look at the formula, look at the problem statement. Find all projects that volunteers in Mumbai are working on. What would be the first step?
For Mumbai.
Perfect. So that is the thing. No, does not always mean that one formula that you're looking at is the direct answer. You'll have to add multiple steps that we learned previously. So when you add filter, city, clear, and Mumbai. So this is these other people that you need to find the project that you're working on. Now the project data is in some other sheet. Okay. So now let's start with the formula. Let's be with me. We'll do it together. So whenever you are starting a formula, it's starting with equal to sign. Then you type the name of the formula, VLOOKUP, right? You take that. And you always, if you want, you can keep this expanded. So you know now what you're looking for. Now see the search key, the value that you want to search for, right? In our case, let's use the UID because that's, you know, for sure That name may be repeating, city may be repeating, but UID is going to be unique, and you always search based on unique items, not the repetitive. Otherwise, it will give you it will return the value of the first instance. It will not give you the value of all the instances, because there may be people who have same name and also are from Mumbai. So it will return the first name and not the unique ID. So that is why unique ID is the row on which you will make a search on. So for this particular UID, we need to select a range. Now, even if it is not in the same sheet, even if it is in some other sheet, you can always go and select. So for in our case, we have the filtering and sorting sheet, and from that we would want to analyze. So that is the reason we would click over here. Now we have to select the entire range. So we'll go by Control Shift and Control Shift down. So the entire range is selected. And we want this range to be constant for all the values. So what do? We lock it. How do we lock it? Over here, right, $sign, and $sign before the alphabet, before the number, again semicolon, before the alphabet, before the number. So a simpler way to do lock a range altogether is function and F4. So you see that it's locked already, right? And now you add a comma. What is the third argument? Index. Index is what? The row that you want the value to be returned from. In our case, what project are they working on? Now, which column is project in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So we'll just try 7. And you can see a preview over here. So you feel that, okay, you are on the right track. The project is correct. It's skill building. But say, for example, if you just like were in a hurry and you miscalculated and you just added 5. So you can see Mumbai and you realize, oh, this is the wrong one. Let's count again and then go for 7. And then we want the exact match of this particular UID, not a close match, nothing. So we add false. That is the last argument. And then we add enter. So it will directly bring over here. And then you do the trick, just double tick. And that's over here. You get all the data over here. This is just like 5 rows. Imagine if you had 100 rows, how much time would you be saving instead of doing a control F and finding and doing all that thing. And over here, one thing I would like to note that, see, in the first, please note this part. In the first, over here, whenever we have the search key cell selected, it's A5. And this is the range. And if you see, if I go down, the search key changes as per the cell changes, but the range remains constant because we have locked it. Otherwise, that would also keep changing. And imagine if you are at a cell 10, the range would already been excluded top 5 results. So you would have missed out on something. And it would have given an error that this is not found, though it was already existing in the database. So that is important. You need to lock it. And this is what VLOOKUP is. Let's quickly go through the steps. It's very simple. You need to identify the unique ID that you want to search the value for. In our case, it's UID. Then you need to select the range where your solution or where the missing value is located. Now, over here in this particular, it can be another sheet, it can be another subsheet, it can be anywhere. And then you need to log that range, you need to keep it constant. Then you need to select the column, number of the column of the value that you want to be returned. So in our case, it was project, it was 7 number column, and you need an exact match. That is why it is false. And that is when you close it and you hit and you get your answer. So this is VLOOKUP. I know it may be a bit overwhelming, but just practice it, you will get it. And trust me, it's very handy. So once you try it, you will be able to do it. Similarly, instead of VLOOKUP, there is HLOOKUP if the data is horizontal, but there are certain limitations of VLOOKUP. So what happens is VLOOKUP is vertical lookup, and that always goes from left to right. Okay. So if you are keeping name, say for example, name as a unique ID, search key, you will not be able to find UID based on unique ID because it's on its left. It will only go left to right. So you can find Mumbai and skill building, whatever project you want based on this, but you won't be able to go to the other opposite direction. It goes from left to right. That is a limitation. Another limitation is when you have a data set and you add another column, right? So it might happen that the formula will break because as we know, the index column might change And instead of 7, it will become 8, but we have referenced 7. So we will be getting some other result over here. So when you know that you're not going to add any column, but you are going to add values, that is fine. So you can use VLOOKUP over there. So this completes our data cleaning, everything related to data cleaning and everything. Now comes the data visualization, like finding confusions and everything. We'll just start with pivot tables. As you know that, if you have huge rows and rows of data and you want to summarize it quickly just to see if the figure is going pretty high or if it is going low, and then you want to dig down deeper. So that is when you use the pivot tables. And again, the same thing, you select the entire range, you go to insert, you go to pivot table. And it's always advisable to add to a new sheet, because you can always keep updating the existing data and keep updating the existing data range to keep your pivot table updated. So you don't need to manually refresh it. The time you add data over here, it will automatically be updated. So once you have a new sheet, now again, Google Sheets being pretty smart will always suggest you what you want. And technically, we would want to see sum of donation amount used for each donation, like how much have we used for counseling and everything. But let's start everything from scratch. Now you over here, when you are doing analysis summary, you need to understand and see what is going in your head. How do you feel? How do you see the table? So in my head, okay, I want to see which donors, like the name of the donor and the amount they have contributed. This is the name of the donor, and the values is the amount donated. So you can see at a very quick glance how much amount they have donated. And you also want to see how much have you used, right? So you can add amount used over here as well. So you can see side by side comparison of the total amount they have added irrespective of the activity. But now you feel, okay, this particular person has donated like 65 and we've used 40, but where? So you can add another row that is basically for grouping and subcategory for subgrouping and all of that. So over here, you can add another row donated for, right? So that will expand your pivot table and you will see that, okay, they have donated 25 for counseling and we have used 20. And this is the total grand total. So this is very, very handy and you can collapse it again the entirely. You can right click and see, you can expand it again. And this is a very good overview of whatever you want to see. Now, the pivot table. Now coming to another one. So charts and slicers, right? So you have data and you have everything, but you want to see how is it performing. You want to create some visualizations. Like you have created a summary, but you now want to see how is it performing. So again, the same thing, go to insert, go to chart. And it will suggest a chart, whatever it fits the best. There are lots of charts like pie charts, area charts, bar graphs, even geographical data. So you can just select it from whatever you want. But in our use case, we want to see the donations received over time, right? So over time is a perfect example of line chart. So over here, we'll have the line chart. Over here, we just remove everything. We just want blank data. Now, when you visualize this particular visualization, you see a trend line going somewhere because it's overtime data, right? So you go to the x-axis and okay, one more thing to keep in mind is always make sure that the range is proper. See, the range was not proper and that is the reason we were not having all values. So again, control shift right, control shift down. This is the correct range. And now you can see all the field values. So you want date down, but there's nothing over here because we want the amount, because we want to add the values, the series. So this is the amount donated. And now it is treating each particular value as a format that it is placed in, which is string. So we want to treat it as text. We want it as labels. So that is the reason I've added over here. And you want to see amount donated by each person. You can add a label and you can see the donor name. So basically which donor donated amount over time can be seen over here. Just 1 second. Yeah. So you can see who has donated how much amount and it is over time. You can also add multiple series to this charts, right? So say for example, over here, you also want to add what was the amount used, because that would be a good comparison. So you can add that as well. And over here, you can also add the text labels of where was it spent. So you can add it for donated for. But one thing you should notice, and you should always notice, is that no matter how good the graph looks, the line, the data is not proper because it's 2022, then it's 2020 again, then it's 2021. So one thing to note is that make sure the data is always in ascending order. It does not have any white spaces. So you sort it from A to Z, and now you see the chart makes sense. So whenever you add filters over here, it will reflect in the chart over here. But say, for example, if you want to share this filter with your entire organization at once, and you know, everyone is at a different place and everyone's popping into the sheet, and there are like multiple filters, because this filter will not go away until you remove it. If someone else walks into the sheet, they will still see this filter, right? So there is a very, very good and a handy tool for it. You can call it as a personalized filter as well. And this is slicer. So what you do is, again, select the data range is selected is correct, and you wanted to see the donor name. So what you can do is, you can add multiple slicers. It's similar to filters the same way, but it is at a personal level. So now there is a slicer. You can just paste it properly, and you just want to see how is AB performing. Only AB performing, AB foundation. So you can just add the filter, and you can see the way it is performing. Apart from that, if you just want to compare two, you can also select the other one, and it will reflect immediately on the data source. But the other person will not be able to see this. They can use their own slicers and add their own filters. So this is very, very handy, so that you don't have to go back and forth and create a havoc like all the filters directly. This is a slicer, so it's pretty good in that. So here we complete the thing of entire journey of data visualization to including all of, so the entire process of starting from raw data to doing the sorting, cleaning, trimming, analysis, making a summary, making a presentation, representation of the data, and to data visualizing. This is the entire process. So now, once you're done with this, you will be able to create some proper storytelling visuals that you can add it to your presentation and portray it in your proposals and your stories. But there is some bonus that I have, and we'll just go through that. Just 1 second, let me go back to that. Going back to our presentation, like we see over here, we've covered everything, and now it's time for the bonus and the giveaways, right? So the first bonus is that, as I mentioned at the initial start, the major chunk of your time will go in cleaning the data. So the cleaner the data you capture, the better result it is for your visualization. The three combination of tools, and that is the reason I was using Google Sheets, is that it integrates perfectly well. You can always use Google Forms to add data validation. So say, for example, in gender, you would just add two drop downs, male, female, with a lowercase, with a uppercase, that is it. So when you have such data validation rules set up, it's difficult to enter any random data, and the data is clean. So half of your work is done over there. When you have Google Forms for every particular thing, you can export it directly to Google Sheets. It's very simple. So over to Google Sheets, you can clean and perform basic calculations that you want, and you can merge data. So in Vlookup, if you have a Google form for particular information, but you also want data from another sheet, so you can do a Vlookup over there, and then you have the perfect data set ready. Now, the best way to do a visualization is to connect it to Looker Studio. When you go to a Looker Studio, this is what it will look like. Yeah. So, and I would definitely suggest everyone to go and dip them. I'm a big fan of data visualization tools like Looker Studio, Tableau, Power BI, anything. The more you can use these, the more your life would be sorted. Even if it is a smallest data set, the smaller data set, the better it is, right? So over here, you can see I've connected this to a particular data sheet, and it has all the data, the donor data, the volunteers data, everything, and it has been broken down. So you can see the donor name, the amount they donated, the donation amount used, and the percentage used. Now, if you want to see what other places they have contributed, you can expand the donor name, and you will see that it has some time to load the data and churn, and then you can see that Smile Limited has given like youth development 30,000, and all of the data in one place. Now, say for example, if you just want to filter everything by youth donation, say how many donors donated to youth development, what were the volunteers, who were the volunteers who participated. So you will see over here that smile, and these were the donors who donated for youth development and how much did they donate. This is the total amount, and this is broken down by project. So for youth development, there are 20 like people, three people of 25 years of age. Then there were three males and two females. Then like they were from these cities, these states. So this is just like a basic visualization if you really want like a is a proper visualization tool, and it's free. So I would suggest everyone to try and use it. There's a lot more to cover. So instead of bringing all the data that you have in multiple sheets to one Excel sheet, you can add multiple sheets to this particular tool and blend it within that. So that is what I was talking about. I have like, and you have like so many sheets that you would want to combine. So this is the place where you do it, and it's very powerful. So if you need a very informative tool, and this is an entire session within itself, so if you really want to know more, you can reach out to Aishwarya, and then I don't mind giving you all another one on this. This is an extensive, very useful tool, and it was initially known as Data Studio. Now it has been converted, like renamed and rebranded into Looker Studio. So this was the one bonus, and then there are other giveaways. You've been like really patient, and I think that you guys have joined and given your time. We've learned a lot, but there's always going to be one thing that you won't be able to remember all the formulas at all. That's for sure, right? So these are certain sheets that I use in day-to-day life, and one is the official one from Google. So they have a pretty extensive sheet of the basic handy tools. You can also perform functions like if anyone knows about coding, SQL, and querying. So you can perform all those functions in Google itself. There's another which is index match. Then there's like so many different if error, other formulas that we were lacking the time of, and so you can use those as well. You just need to know what is your business use case. You can go to these particular sheets. They will set you up with a lot of things you can use. In Vlookup, you can use multiple sheets as well. We just saw an example of one particular subsheet. You can use multiple sheets. Even if you don't know at the top of your head, you know your use case, you can visit these cheat sheets and know it. And the second one is this Udemy courses. So these are all like 1 hour short courses, because I know that, we don't have a lot of time to spend like 3-4 hours. Maybe we can if you're truly interested, but these are like short, quick courses from beginner to advanced, and you would learn a lot of new functions that I might have not even covered over here. So these were the two giveaways. I'll make sure that Aishwarya share these links with you. And lastly, the more you practice, the better you get. So no matter how much small the practice is, even if like, baby steps, if you try to just incorporate one formula that you used in your everyday task, make a random data set, make whatever you want from your own random or dummy data set. Just keep practicing. And that's from me. Thank you.
So much, Anisha. It was like wonderful session, and like we all learned a lot. It was like very well executed and knowledgeable session for all of us. So thank you so much. And we are seeing the messages as well that everyone really liked the session. We have like few questions
Sure.
which will just quickly take it up.
So I see a few questions. One meaning that is Looker Studio free. So yes, Looker Studio is free. Initially, it was Data Studio when it was like completely free, and now they have rebranded it to Looker Studio. And there are two variations. One is the free version, and one is a pro. So if you have an enterprise level thing, you can use the pro version. But I would suggest that if the data is really good and like it's not very extensive, when I mean big data, where you need data warehouses to store like BigQuery. So if it is not that level, you can definitely use Looker Studio. It's amazing, and I've built like most of my reports on Looker Studio, being pretty honest.
Okay, thank you. We have one more question. Can we put first alphabet of name and surname in uppercase and rest in lowercase? For example, in Abhishek, like A is capital, and in the surname S is capital. So can we do that?
Yeah. So for that particular case, so we have a third formula that's like a title case. So when you use title case, every first letter of your word would be capitalized. So, you can look up for these formulas. So uppercase would be all caps, lowercase would be lower, all lower, and there's a title case, which will help you understand and capitalize the first letter. So if you want to use that for the naming convention, you can use that as well.
Okay. Thank you, Anisha. So now I'll request participants, if you have any particular question that you would like to ask, please raise your hand and we'll accept your question immediately.
Anisha, good evening. Your
Hi.
session has been really a great help. Just
Thanks.
wanted to, to check one thing, that in Excel, we generally struggle with spell check often. Is it at all not there, or it's there and we are not aware of it? And is it the same for Google Sheet as well? Because that creates a lot of trouble when we sort this data out. Yes, cleanup helps a lot, but then spell checks can be detected here. I mean, can be.
Yeah, so I think that spell check inbuilt is not there as we have it for Google Docs, but you can always use an add-on. So I think there are like we have extensions for Google Chrome, there are add-ons or for Google Sheets. So maybe in the Google add-on market, you can search for an extension that helps you detect spell check and error. So I think there should be one add-on.
Okay, it's available on the Google Sheet itself. We find that option, or is there a separate thing that we have to? I'm sorry, I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, no problem. So when you open the Google Sheet, there is this extensions tab beside. So you see a toolbar where we insert format data and this tools. Yeah. So there's an extensions and then use add-on. Yeah.
Okay. There we can. Okay.
Yeah, you can search for that.
Yeah, and most of the formulas that you showed us in Sheet, will there be also helpful in Excel as we use Excel? They're available there also.
Yes, they will be useful in Excel as well. The only difference would be that the way we select range, the way we lock the range, those functions would be slightly different. But there is an Excel cheat sheet as well. If you want, I can forward that as well. And you can definitely use the same functions. In fact, I feel that if you want to perform very advanced calculations, Excel is a power tool because it has a power query as well. So Excel will have all of these.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Anisha. Thanks, Aishwarya.
Hi, Anisha. Lakshmi from Tata. I almost use or whatever you said because it was a refresher course and awesome, very well explained. Every time I get this requirement, I have a huge data of 3,000 rows, 4,000 rows, where my users give the location of the location, and I have to give the district name and all to my funders. Is there any or formula wherein I can easily search for the district based on the locations of the users, something like that?
Okay, so if you have the name of the user and you are pretty sure that it's only distinct, you can use the VLOOKUP formula to create like a quick representation of whatever you want. So based on the username, if it is distinct, I'm sure it will be distinct unless you can make a check. And if it is not distinct, there will be only one or two who won't be distinct. So you can do that manually, but it reduces your task from like 100% to like directly 20%. You just need to look for two people. So what you can do is you can keep the search key as the name, and then you can look for the range in which that district and everything is existing, and then you can pull it from there.
No, the district they don't give. Is there anything like I need to add Google API or something to it and then search for the districts of the location they have mentioned?
District is not present in the data, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, so for that, there will be some extensions and APIs that would be providing the city, the district, or the data API that you can run, and you can have a separate sheet for all the districts and all the datas over there, right? And then you can select the name from there, and you can just add the name to that particular sheet. From there, you can use a VLOOKUP, and for that particular name, you can refer to that particular sheet where you have created the data, and then you can do a match. Like, make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anisha, for answering our participants' queries. This would be like our last question for today. If there is anybody who would like to ask any questions, please go ahead.
Aishwarya, thank you very much. I just wanted to request if you could give a small note about the formulas or steps taken. It will be very handy because sometimes Anisha is like a native speaker. Maybe some of us might have not understood the formula. So if you can just give us something in Word form or PDF,
Okay.
it will be very helpful.
So the cheat sheet that I'm going to share with you all, that has the formulas that I have discussed. Along with that, it also has some additional formulas. So you can know when to use a particular formula. And along with that, I'm also sharing the official Google sheet, cheat sheet. So basically, it will have all the formulas that you can look up and you can read them. And then if you feel that you can apply it, then you can definitely go through that. Does that help you?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think that was very helpful. I think with this, like on a very good note, we can
I
close.
just have one thing. So I might have just said that for the first question where you had you wanted to capitalize A and the surname first letter. So I mentioned title case. It can also be title case or it's capitalization. I'm not sure because because in Excel and in Google Sheet it's different. It's existing in both, but just make sure to search for it and it is there. It's definitely there. So yeah, just wanted to clarify that.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think it's
Thank you so much
proper.
for highlighting.
It's proper. Yeah, it's proper. It's existing. It's definitely there, but there might be some difference in the name that they use.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining for this webinar. It was wonderful having you guys for this webinar. In terms of the speaker, like we would like to thank Anisha for like giving her time, and it was a really knowledgeable session. I think for me also it was like a recap for like doing and working on Excel. So that was really helpful, and I'm sure like this is going to create like a big impact for all our nonprofit partners who have joined for this webinar. So thank you so much, and we really appreciate your time and efforts. Thank you, Anisha.
No,
And
no
thank you
problem.
so much all the participants, and we look forward to seeing you for our future webinars.
I really hope that you guys at least use one of the formulas that have been taught. So thank you so much for having me.
I think everybody will use it for sure.
Thank you guys.
Thank you
Good to
so
have you all.
much.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya, for coordinating so much.
Anytime.
Okay.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye, everyone.